honestly, this is no joke. I'm like, oh my God, Cheryl's going into the Hall of Fame Friday night, and I asked her to do this on Wednesday. The fact that you're here.
That doesn't change. I mean, honestly, the Rock Hall, I mean, I feel extremely blessed. That goes into the category or the closet of all the blessings from all these years. And tucked away in there is cancer, and tucked away in there is losing people I loved. But right now, I was excited to get here and to talk to you and to see you. My grief right now, and I think I can say it because I know my parents don't listen to podcasts. My mom has dementia. I mean, I miss her so much. It's just heartbreaking. And yet she's still here. I tell my siblings, you have to grieve it while you're in it because it's not going anywhere. My challenge now will be to remember her as she was. Yeah. And not as she is.
And you will when she's gone.
I think so.
Will. I believe that.
Welcome to the Good Grief, Good God show, hosted by Grammy nominee and Emmy Award-winning hit songwriter Brad Warren of the Warren Brothers. Join Brad monthly on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Tuesdays in audio or on YouTube for raw, honest conversation about surviving things that suck. For today's episode, Brad welcomes 9-time Grammy Award winner, 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, singer-songwriter Sheryl Crow. Sheryl got her first big break touring as a backup singer for Michael Jackson on his Bad tour. Fast forward nearly 40 years later, she's sold over 50 million records. She's a living legend who's captivated audiences worldwide. She will release her 11th studio record, Evolution, on March 28th. Available now to pre-order at SherylCrow.com. Lastly, not only is Sheryl a rock star, but she also utilizes her platform to advocate for mental health initiatives. I'm producer Matt Pt1. To learn more about today's guest, Brad, and the show, check the description where you'll find clickable links to access this episode's audio and video links, to connect to the show on social media, and to visit goodgriefgoodgodshow.com. There on the website, you'll be able to access the most up-to-date show information and the back catalog of episodes, plus more. Lastly, we value your feedback, so please hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment or review. On the behalf of Brad's wife and executive producer, Michelle Warren, and segment producer and guest booker, Lisa Bolt, thank you for tuning in. The Good Grief, Good God show is brought to you in loving memory of Sage Michael Warren.
Over there.
Over here, okay.
It's all right, just because I can't. It's great for you.
My boys are 13 and 16.
Are they that old already?
Yeah, 16. I have a driver.
Oh my God.
So corporates are what are keeping my band and crew. I mean, I remember James Taylor saying, well, you know, I feel like if you're playing for people that like your music, what's the difference?
Here's I mean, and also you're a rock star, so it's different. But for a songwriter, we have small, intelligent, curious crowds that listen. And it's a storytelling thing. So for us, it's a little different. We have Gone with McGraw. I love that just as a writer. And they don't know who you are when you start, and by the end they're like, oh, this is great. Yeah. It's better than roofing. We were with him once on
Better Than Roofing. I love that.
He's already filming.
Okay, good.
So whatever's gone on.
This is like really pro.
Yeah. This Matt Pt1 back there, but I would try to have a hard start, and then he would put it on. I don't look at it before it goes out there, and it started right when we sat down. So I'm making fun of somebody.
Right, good.
You got to tell me about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I have to say, it was a lot like throwing a wedding. I mean, honestly, I had my entire family there, with the exception of my mom and dad and my sister. And I'll tell you something that's incredible. There were so many little things around the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that overshadowed that for me. And one of them was my hometown. I'm from a really small town with like 3 stoplights, an A&W, and a Dairy Queen. And, you know, that's what we did. We circled, you know, everybody had albums. There wasn't social media, obviously. And it's still like that. And there was a town square around the courthouse. Now Walmart moved in and everything collapsed on itself. But the town is still, you know, it's all churches and everything. There's one movie theater, and the lady that owns it, she and her husband, go to our church, and they decided for my mom and dad, because they couldn't come, that they would live stream the Rock Hall at the movie theater. They had a red carpet. They had photographers. They gave away prizes. I mean,
that's awesome.
It was incredible. So when I got up there to make my speech, I was just like, okay, all y'all in Kennett, hi, love you. Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I mean, how long have we been doing this? I mean, I'm 37 years in. It's weird when you start spending more time looking back than looking forward. Like I'm 61.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to actually sit down and have to write.
You're what?
I'm 61. So it's crazy.
You look great, by the way.
Well, thank you. I love the lighting in here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this is helpful. Michelle occasionally is on in here, so you make sure that the lighting is right.
But it was cool. I mean, it was cool, and it's cool. I mean, what can I say? I'm not a person that handles these things very well. So.
Well, you know what's funny, and I mean, I can say this, and you know, there's a few of my very best friends are very famous people, and then many of my friends are absolutely zero. So I run the gamut.
Same with me.
You are less full of shit than any celebrity I know.
Oh my God, thank you.
That's the truth. And
I was 30. Well, I
should say musician.
I was 29 when my first record came out. I had jobs. I had taught school. I had been fired. I had waited tables. I had a full person's life before I ever got to do what I'm doing now. I think it made a huge difference. And I had parents that were like, no, you will straighten up and fly right and be nice or else, you know. And
well, and then like your documentary was awesome. I texted you when I saw it. But I could see you dating the guy that would only let you sing Christian music. I mean, so
dump me.
You came from that. Like I did too. We weren't allowed to listen to secular music.
Yeah.
Like at all.
Yeah, I laugh about it all the time because the girl that I hired to be my nanny, who still works with me, is my assistant, but her parents banned me. She wasn't allowed to listen to me, and I was like, it all comes round.
We had nieces and nephews that weren't allowed to watch our reality show. Like,
to me, there's like a source of pride. You know, it's like I know the Lord knows who I am.
100%, no, especially now because beyond it. But do you know Ernest? So
I
Brett
know
and I
his story.
Found him. Like he was working at the Donut Den, and we went and got him signed at Sony. Long funny story, whatever. But he said when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to watch your TV show, so we would watch it at night. So I automatically loved you because I wasn't allowed to watch.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean,
what was it about your music that they couldn't listen to? Just wasn't. It wasn't,
you know, F-bombs and drinking. Talked about drinking, and I don't really know. You know, it's funny. It's funny to be older now and to be raising kids in this climate, and the conversations that we have about intention and about. I mean, originally my kids were like, I was like, okay, you can't say hate and you can't say shut up. You know, like when you're raising little ones, right? Yeah. So I would hear them in the other room going, shh, shh. You know, like getting away with it, you know, and you know.
Yeah. Were your boys at the Hall of Fame? Did they go?
Made them go on the red carpet. I know.
Do they get it at all? I mean,
I think that was a moment. I think my 13-year-old really likes it when I'm just not her. You know what I mean? Yeah. My 16-year-old remembers it better, you know. They both grew up on the tour bus, but I think he remembers it more. He's also more of an empath. He's I mean, he was like proud papa, like arm around me and like, but I think they get it, you know. It's gotta be weird. I mean, they have an older mom. I mean, I'm 20 years older than their mom's.
Yeah,
moms,
but you're not though. I mean,
well, not to you.
Your age is older, but I know moms of. Believe me, I know moms. But
you know, like when you're a kid, like I can remember being in 3rd or 4th grade and realizing that my parents were in their 40s and that they were going to be dead soon. I mean, because you know what I'm saying? It's like when you're a kid, you think 40 is like, oh my God, they're like dead already.
Yeah.
So,
and then I mean, I think old age likes you. I mean, I think it's.
I love it, man.
And I would say old age, that's almost too far to say. But we're, you know, when you cross 50, they started sending me AARP stuff in the mail. I'm like,
yes, I know. It's like a slap in the face.
Yeah, I'm like, okay with it.
Yeah.
The Hall of Fame is it's like this wonderful curtain call.
It is.
But I would be okay. I feel like you're okay with like, there's a certain part of this. It's over. I'm no longer climbing. I'm now flying or descending. Or
I mean, I can remember when my record label came to me in 2002, and they said they were going to put together a greatest hits, and I was like, oh my God, I guess I'm getting dropped, or you know, is this it? Now I just feel like everything's icing on the cake. But I think I was telling you a while ago. I said after the last record, I was singing with, this is going to sound super woo-woo, but I believe in woo-woo. So, you know.
I totally believe in woo-woo.
I'm all like angels and everything.
No coincidence. Just don't believe in them anymore.
No, I tell my kids all the time, no coincidences. You know, everything lines up exactly as it's supposed to. And if you miss it, you miss it. But I was singing this song called Redemption Day, and Johnny Cash had recorded it, and I wanted to do a new version of it because of what was going on politically. So I called John Carter and I said, can I use his demo vocal? And he was like, yeah. So I recorded a new bed for it, and I loved his singing on it so much I didn't want to sing it. And the guy that was producing me, Steve Jordan, who's brilliant, he's like, you can't put it on the record unless you put your voice on it, because it's not the Johnny Cash record, it's the Sheryl Crow record. It's like, I don't. So one night I went into the studio. It was about 11 o'clock at night. My kids were in bed, and I sang it, and it was different, and I felt his presence. And I'm not usually like that. I've only had it happen twice. I've had it happen with him and with Bill Graham. And I knew at that moment, I was like, I'm done. I mean, because I don't know how that for me was a signal. Mm-hmm. So I made this big announcement. I'm not making albums anymore. People don't listen to albums. I love the tradition of a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it's a waste of time. Anyway, so cut to now. And with this AI thing, I mean, it blew my mind. So I wrote a song about AI, and I called Mike Elizondo and I said, I have this song. I don't want to produce myself. I'm done with that. So he's like, okay. And I sent it to him, and I walked into the studio, and he created this. I mean, it was like the most beautiful cinematic backdrop to this song. And I went home the next day and I wrote another song. And then I wound up with 9 songs that really were like, okay, I can't not do these, and now I have a record. So what do? You want
to hear God laugh telling your plans.
I know. He was up there like, hello.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, the guy back there behind the curtain, we met at a charity event in Austin, Texas, and he said, hey, I want you to do a podcast on grief. Well, yeah, right, whatever. Definitely not doing a podcast on grief. That doesn't sound like any fun at all. And then he called. We talk on the phone a little bit. I'm telling Michelle about it. And I'm telling her one day that I'm not doing it. She goes, you know you're doing that, right? I'm like, am I? She goes, oh yeah, you're doing it, and we're doing it at our house. I'm like, oh really? Your house? You're gonna let cameras and cigarette smoke and everything come? She goes, yes, we're doing this at our house. I just try not to say. If I say no, I'm gonna wind up doing that thing I'm saying no to. So I just try to say yes now, quick.
Yeah.
Make it, just pull the Band-Aid off.
I love that. I'm just gonna say really quick. I love that you're doing it. I know more people now than I don't that are dealing with it in one way or another. You know, my grief right now, and I think I can say it because I know my parents don't listen to podcasts. My mom has dementia.
Oh wow.
And it is an odd. I mean, I have a little list for God when I get up there. A couple of things I want to talk to him about. I know I'm not going to improve what he's already done, mm-hmm. but that's one of them. And I mean, I miss her so much, and yet she's still here, you know, and it's just heartbreaking. I mean, that was one of the things that I felt like with what they did at that movie theater. That was all for my mom, and she doesn't remember it, but she loved it in the moment, you know, and you know, I tell my siblings, you have to grieve it while you're in it, because it's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, and my challenge now will be to remember her as she was and not as she is.
And you will when she's gone.
I think so.
I believe that. I'll tell you this, so losing a child is the craziest, strangest ride, and all the things that we say we believe in, I don't know that I believed, I hoped maybe more so than believed. But when you talk about feeling Johnny Cash, like, no doubt in my mind, last weekend, Michelle and I are driving down the road, and I had this whoof over me, like he was there, and it was heavy. And we were just going to get some takeout food to come home and watch Netflix. And we were just, you know, it was like I had a night off and we were just going to hang. And I just looked over at her and said, oof, I just had a really big wave of sage. And she started crying. She's like, I had it like 2 minutes ago on the interstate. And it was like sitting with us. I'm like, I don't even know how, that's not even, we have a million specific little stories, but that's just something that we both felt inside right away. I feel him so much that belief isn't even, it seems crazier to me to believe that the human spirit wouldn't continue after this. like it's too strong, right?
I agree. I mean, I think we're so small-minded. This is just a little footnote to my whole life, and it was a game changer for me. But after Lance and I split and I got diagnosed, and I was grieving that being over and grieving the end of a dream and missing stepkids and facing my own mortality, my fabulous friends in Hollywood set me up with this psychiatrist, and I went in and I was like, oh my God, he looks like Santa Claus. I don't even know if I can get past this, right? So and
I want him to look like Santa Claus.
Yeah, I mean, really, honestly. And he was ultimately. We did not really gel, but the one thing that he said to me that actually I look at it and go, okay, that was not a coincidence, because I've carried it with me forever. Infinite possibility. The idea of, one of the things he said was, when things are absolutely just insurmountable, you feel like you cannot hold the weight of what you're dealing with. He's like, if you can just even mutter to yourself, thank you for infinite possibility, because infinite possibility represents all the things our tiny pea brains limit us with. Like I always said, well, if only I can do this, if only I get, marry somebody and then I'll have children and then da-da-da-da. I mean, this whole scenario, well, my life was going to be different than that. I don't know, bigger, better, worse, whatever, it was going to be different, and I limited it. Until everything was taken away. And then now I have these incredible boys. And I think that the veil of consciousness between the living and those who have gone on is so, so tiny that if you ask, and I really believe this, if you are awake and you are open, you will be connected through all of your living lives, all of your awake lives. It's so thin.
Yeah.
I have so many friends who have lost people that will tell me about funny things that the person who's passed will do to remind them.
Oh, we have
little
funny
things that only you could know. And it doesn't mean that he's lurking around because he's unhappy or he's not with Jesus or he's not. It just means that everything is everything. We are all totally connected at all times. Yeah. And the Bible is beautiful, but man, we limit God.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. God is all things. Like, it's funny because all these denominations, like, everyone thinks the other one are a bunch of idiots. The Catholics think the Baptists are crazy, and the Baptists think the Church of Christ people's music sucks, and everyone, somebody's wrong. I just wipe that off the table and let God be all things. And not limitless possibility. I believe that. And ours started literally with the funeral. I mean, we're in, like, our 21-year-old son is gone, and we had one of them started with had decided on one funeral home and changed it to another one. And somewhere, like on day 3, they lost his body. And we were cracking up. We were like, oh my God, he gave us the slip one last time. Like, it was that time where you don't know. They literally lost him for a day. And we're like, oh my God, and he is just probably
cracking having up and like the time of his life.
He was a hoot. He was like, make you laugh, funny guy. And then the morning of the funeral, they have a limo company, funeral company. This is it had been very classy up to then. And they said, oh, sorry, there's been some problem with the limos. They didn't show up. And this like lowered, like boom, boom limo that was falling apart, but like it looked like a gangster rap band was coming up and pulled up in that front yard, and Michelle started laughing so hard. She goes, oh my God, Sage loved rap music. Everything about that limo was him. It was gaudy and like, what is going on here? And we just started laughing and it started early and it continues. But I mean, he had a sense of humor. He still does. We feel it. And it's the kind of thing where I would have patted someone on the head before probably and said, hey, if that makes you feel better, man, rock on.
Right.
But I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Like, it's really easy.
I mean, for me, that is, that's just the beautiful testimony that spirit is infinite, forever connected. And that's what gets me through. You know what I mean? I'm sure it probably does for y'all too. But I feel like, even with my mom, I know that she will probably outlive my dad.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that, for the caregiver, the caretaker, like, he doesn't want any help. He's 91.
Mm-hmm.
He don't want any help. He's got this. You know, I think all the way until the very end, she's in a process of unwinding and unraveling, and eventually she will be back to herself. And I know that she will help us remember who she was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm counting on it.
Oh yeah, that's,
you know,
even if it was just the memories and you didn't believe what we believed, I think that you would revert back and remember the years that she was herself. But being as we believe that they're active and something's happening, yeah, there's laughter in the pain and there's growth in the. I don't know about you, but you've made a much better decisions overall as a group of life decisions probably than I have. But the worst spots I've been in have caused the most pain and then the most growth.
Yes.
I am absolutely nothing without the pain.
Yeah.
Getting sober after a bad run of drug addiction and alcoholism while being married, dragging everyone through the mud, was the growth I needed to become someone who could even be sitting here right now. But whatever, and your decisions don't have to be as bad, but whatever.
Can you at all like celebrate that? Can you feel the weight of what you're doing now? I mean, because honestly, I feel like there's so many people that you don't even know about that you're ministering to. Can you feel the weight of that? I mean, I know for you probably, and for most people, it is essential, and it's an essential part of your healing too. But man, the gift that you're giving by your being able to be open about it is, because it's no joke. Life is it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
And if you're a feeling person and you're willing to show up, there's a lot that goes with that, you know?
I mean, it's super kind of you to say, and I don't know about feeling it, but I'll tell you this. This is funny because I mean, I've been sober 18 years, so I've been working the program, and I've sponsored people, and I have a sponsor. I mean, I'm in it. I'm in it to grow. I'd say in it to win it, but it's not like everything else. It literally is something that causes honesty and selflessness and humility and whatever. But like this particular podcast and my group of dads that I meet with and whatever is the first thing I've ever poured my whole soul into that I have no design for personal gain from.
Yeah.
There's no back door of, hey, it's
there's
the first
no Grammy
time
for it.
No Grammy for it. And
there's no Rock Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And there's probably no money in it. And it's the first time I've ever done anything just because I needed to do it. And it's been rewarding in ways that I can't, you
can never even know. I mean, that's the thing. I tell my kids all the time. I have a kid that is maybe going to be an accountant. I have another kid that might be a priest. I don't know. So for as long as they've been alive, and they came in together, they picked each other, they picked me. But whenever there's somebody that's asking for money, Wyatt is like, he's my older one. Mom, how much money do you have? Buddy, I got like $10. Mom, dig around, and he wants to give him money. And then my other one is like, he's just going to go around the corner and get in his Lambo and go down to his apartment down, and I always say the blessing is in the intention after it passes from your hand. And I feel like every day now watching the absurdity that's taking place and the hate and the fear that people are latching onto as if it was religion, that it's the tiniest little things now.
It is. And I hate to like butt out because I do care, but like I can control this sphere, what I have right here, and what I can control. So I can make someone have a better day, or I could just pass it on. I mean, honestly, this is no joke. I'm like, oh my God, Sheryl going into the Hall of Fame Friday night, and I asked her to do this on Wednesday. The fact that you're here, I watch you with your kids.
That doesn't change. I mean, honestly, okay, Sunday we go straight to the ball field because we had a doubleheader. Because
I know that's who you are, right?
And let me tell you what, that's my happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Rock Hall, I mean, I feel extremely blessed, and that goes into the category or the closet of all the blessings from all these years. And tucked away in there is cancer, and tucked away in there is losing people I loved. It, it's all in there.
Yeah.
But right now, I was excited to get here and to talk to you and to see you, and
so good. I mean, it's funny because if someone didn't know you, like, you're such a mom, like you're just as mom as every mom there. Like you're there's no like.
Oh, let me tell you what, my kids will straighten up and fly right.
I wouldn't say every pony I run into, but at least 5 times I've run into someone randomly that I didn't even know knew you, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, my kids are at Sheryl Crow's this weekend," or they,
we're the boy house. Yeah, I'll tell you that.
I bet
Which
you
I
are.
love,
Yeah, yeah, we had the boy house. It was very much the boy house.
Yeah.
Here. And Michelle is like a boy mom. Like it's like there's a thing about a boy mom, and she's
I do tell the Lord at least once a week, God, man, you are so smart. Thank you. Because if you'd given me girls, it would not have gone down well. If I had to do somebody else's hair, case in point. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I really do love.
Well, it's funny because it's kind of like if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans thing. But the truth is, I have to stop acting like I know what just happened. And everything that happens, like you're a really great single mom. Like you're enough you're a dad and a mom. Like I watch you with your boys, and you got it.
Well,
and who knows what would have happened to those particular boys if you had.
I'll tell you something
married
interesting.
Lance Armstrong and had other kids. Those.
No, I mean, I always say I've loved some amazing people, and I've loved some other people too.
Yeah.
I will tell you something interesting, and these are the things that blow my mind, because I mean, I'm like you. I grew up Christian, and then I dumped that. I got into meditating and felt like, I was sort of more on the track of there are gods in all religion. And I do believe this. I do believe that people who seek God's face, I just don't believe that God is an evil God. And I don't believe that God, decides if you go to the Church of Christ, you're the only ones going to heaven. So,
I think there's a lot of people I love that think people are going to hell that just got.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
I got it.
We'll talk about that when that's enough. But this is what. These are the little things in my life. When my 16-year-old was 3, I had just brought home his baby brother, and I was feeding him, and he was looking at a book. Now he is hyper focused. He has ADHD, so he's very hyper focused. So it's like squirrel, and he was poring over this book at 3, and he said, "Oh, this reminds me of Africa." And I said, "This reminds you of Africa?" And he said, and I said, "Well, tell me about Africa." And he said, "Well, we lived in a house that had dirt floors, and we had grass on the ceiling." And I'm like trying not to like squeeze all the milk into my kid's mouth. And he said, I said, "You lived in a house that had floors that were dirt?" And he said, "Yes, and there were lots of very big bugs." And then he just kept pouring on, and I'm just like, okay. I've heard about kids talking about past lives before, so I'm just going to go with it. And I don't even know what the book was. I'm sure it was animated. And I said, "Well, tell me more about Africa." And he said, "We had to walk a very long way." He said, "We had to walk a long way for water." And I said, "You had to walk for water?" And he said, "We had to walk through woods and down roads for water." And I said, "Well, was Levi there?" And he said, "Yeah, he was there, but he was older than me." Like, "You're an idiot, Mom." Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, duh.
And then I said, "Well," and a few minutes went by. I said, "Well, tell me more about Africa." And he said, "I don't want to talk about Africa anymore." And that was that. And it was so vivid that I just feel like, it's that limiting ourselves. We don't know everything. We can't know everything.
I was going to say, we won't go back into what we were just talking about, but how I handle it with my mother, who's awesome, but she's like spirit filled, and it's very, it's all in, but that we get our things that we're just so absolutely sure about. So there's some people that we love very dearly that don't believe like her. And I said, "Mom, you think they're going to hell?" "I don't know." And I said, "That's a good answer, by the way. Thank you." Because 20 years ago, it would have been like, "Yeah, they're going to hell." Because I don't believe this. And I said, So let me ask you this. If you had the switch and you could flip the switch that sent them to hell or sent them to heaven, would you send them to hell? Oh, no, God, of course not. I said, well, don't you think God has more grace than you? If we're his children, why is this? So my point of that is, I'm not going to be surprised. Whatever he's got, I'm cool with it. Especially because my son's there and I know he's there. Yeah. That's all that matters to me. I mean, whatever we're doing. Someone's like, can we play golf in heaven? I'm like, whatever, bro. If you want to play golf in heaven, it's
the freedom in that. I mean, I tell my kids all the time, look, because there is an ongoing conversation at all times about gay people and about trans people, and this goes on in their age groups, and they come home and ask hard questions, and I just say, look, the one thing we can all know is that God, Jesus preached love. And the reality of that is you love everyone as your neighbor. You, not only do you not have to judge, I mean, be grateful in that. You don't actually get to judge either. So that's not even your job. So all you have to do is love.
We're directed to do. That's the one thing we have to do. And another conversation I was having, my mom said, the one time that I can remember in the Bible, because we did have to read it a lot as kids, we were steeped in it. But like the only time God said, depart from me, I never knew you, was when the person was going, hey, but I did this and I did this. I'm like, I'm cool with just falling on my face and going, hey, I don't know. I have nothing. And when if whatever we believe can eliminate love, then we're on the wrong track. I mean, we have to learn how to love the people that we don't want to love.
I totally agree. I want you to just, I need that. I need that part of this conversation. I need it to just roll it every morning. Just what he said.
Oh, I have a quote. I'm supposed to start with this, but
okay.
I write a quote for everybody. Not write a quote.
Okay.
I gather a quote.
Yeah.
Because your quote's from Albert Einstein, so I did not write this quote.
He's got the same birthday I do.
Does he really?
Me and Jennifer Aniston too.
Really? Well, I think you and Albert Einstein are more important than Jennifer Aniston, but... Okay, so it's creativity is seeing what others see and thinking what no one else has ever thought.
Oh, wow.
And that's what you do. And then I had another quote for you because there's just two that came up when I was watching your documentary. And Keith Richards said, you either feel it or you don't, which I thought was amazing because that is so like...
Thank you.
Can we talk about music for a second?
I would love to. Oh, I'm in the wonder of it. I was telling somebody the other day, I worked with Michael Jackson and, for me, it was the first time I actually looked at music as being, there's two aspects to creativity or two aspects to inspiration. And one is the ego. That's the part of us that understands it, crafts it, knows what makes it great. And then the other part of it is the divinity. And only every once in a while do you get to dip or you get dipped in the divinity of it, and it doesn't happen as much as you want it to, but it's definitely there. It's definitely something that you just go, you hear songwriters go, oh, I was just a vessel and for that song, or I don't know where it came from. And I swear to me, it's like, okay, if I'm going to write definitions of what God is, that's one of them.
Brett and I are just songwriters, but we've always written together. Mostly, we did a little bit.
You're not just songwriters.
Yeah, not just right. But we were going to come here and be rock stars, and then I'm so thankful for the path. It's what it should have been. But we have enjoyed playing a lot. We play 50 shows a year now, which is way more than we did in the middle of like songwriting time.
Yeah.
And whatever, this group of lawyers or whatever, they can or cannot get it. They love what you're doing, but we will every now and then lock into an absolute Keith and Ronnie moment playing wise, and no one would get it and no one would care. And it's just so, and I'd be like, thank you, God, that I got to do this with my brother, because and we know when it is, it's just, you're just in a zone for like 2 minutes of something.
Yes.
And they would have been happy if you just told a funny story about your song and sang the hit that you wrote. But man, there are moments that we're just like spiritually in sync. And it's like this, it's like I've surfed like twice in my life.
It's like divinity. I mean, you're like tapping into something that's bigger than you. I love it.
Being honest with you from where we came, and I've told you this before and you like poo-poo it because you're humble and whatever. But I mean, you were like my favorite artist for a 5-year span. Musically, what the Rolling Stones, a lot of the feel that they had, the flat 7 and the open tuning, but you did it with a smile and they did it with a smirk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wasn't as cool as they are.
Nobody's as cool as they are. You wouldn't want to be. A girl that was as cool as them is,
I wanted to be Keith, but
Any girl as cool as the Rolling Stone dies at 27. You know what I mean? You can't.
True.
It's like you are the closest thing. And another thing is, I love the Stones. Like, if you're a Beatles or a Stones person, I'm a Stones person. They divide you into groups, but their songs aren't always like the most palatable hit songs.
Yeah.
You took like great, catchy songs and put Rolling Stones with them. I mean, it's zero surprise to me that they love you so much because you really did it. Like it was, there's at the beginning of It Makes You Happy and you play the G and you play that sus chord and it's a little different because you do high.
Yeah.
I mean, we have that on 5-6 songs that we've gotten cut by other people. I mean, I play it every night in some form or another.
And that's Keith. I mean, that's
so
totally Keith. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Who only uses 5 strings. So
I was going to say, it's not how Keith did it because Keith uses 5 strings and it's tuned to open G or open D.
Yeah, open G. Yeah.
Yeah, open G. So it's kind of fun to play one song like that and then I'm kind of lost.
And then you're limited.
Yeah, what else do you do? I'm trying to play a solo here. I'm tuned to this craziness. But like, how did you become a Stones? I mean, you had to have some.
I mean, honestly, because I grew up in a small town, and I'll tell you what was happening musically when I was growing up was like Foreigner, Kansas, Boston. All those bands were great. I mean, they could play. The musicianship was incredible. I just couldn't get it. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like.
It's kind of slick.
It's kind of slick. And I couldn't play guitar very well. I was in a band called Athena and the Hubcaps. And we just, we learned Rolling Stone songs and I could figure out how to play those, and that's where it started. And then I started digging back into like Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed. And those became like huge records. And then I started going back and listening to country music, like where they got it. Because those 2 records, it sounded like they were trying to be American country, Mick doing his twang and so I started getting back into like Jimmy Rogers and of course Johnny, and I don't know, I just seemed to sort of gravitate towards that.
As a teenager?
As a teenager.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then I went to college, got in a cover band. I mean, the music that was of my period was just not my thing. It's like Quarter Flash and,
And that's how you do something different.
Yeah.
If the
and
music
I learned
of the
all
moment
that.
is your thing.
I think learning it, I mean, I'm always telling kids, get in a cover band. But I don't know what they'd play now because you can't play anything current.
They play music. They play our music. Like
yes.
from I mean, the stuff that we would have covered, they play your song. I mean, that's what they would cover because the last 20 years haven't given us coverable material.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they play some country music. I mean,
popular
a lot of
country
it.
Music,
Yeah.
Later in life, gotten into the soulful thing. But as a young rock kid, as a boy, you're just you're doing it to impress girls and chase girls, but you probably didn't care about like guys following you or whatever. You were really doing music. I didn't
care about guys.
But you weren't trying to get a load of them to follow you around.
No, I was definitely not. And I went to college and studied music, so it wasn't like I got my degree in classical piano, which is just when I think about it.
I was gonna say because my brother's a lot like you, but he's not studied, but he can play everything. He literally can play. Brett can play everything. A really good harmonica, really good bass, a drummer, pretty good piano player, B3 player, and he plays guitar.
Yeah.
I'll just be better on guitar than you, and then you can play everything else and do that. But you play everything really well.
I say I'm like a problem solver as a musician. Like I can play by ear, and I can play well by ear, but not like the greats. And so other instruments for me were like, okay, how do you play it? Well, let me figure it out. And that is the way I'm in life. Well, let me figure it out. Like my car's not running right. Well, let me check the oil. I mean, I'm just like, let me figure this out. And that's, I think part of like, it's funny. I had Mike Elizondo produce these songs and they don't sound like my production. They're so good. You know what I mean? My production sounds like somebody who's trying to figure it out. But it has its thing. You know what I mean?
It's a thing, and I'm telling you, for an 8-year span, you made the best music in the world. That's not. And by the way, that's not just saying. That's also the music. Every era has its thing. I have to tell this story. I don't know if you remember this, but I think I told you one other time. But the first time we ever met you, Brett and I were brand new signed. I think it was 1998 or 99, which means we've kind of known each other a long time.
A long time.
You probably didn't even remember us, but it was at the Sundance Music Festival. We were super drunk because we always were back then.
Okay.
And
yes.
we played some show, and you and Stuart Copeland
Yes.
came and sat in with a band.
Yes.
We played before you guys.
Oh
and then
my
they had like a
gosh.
house band that was going to play with you and Stuart Copeland. And these guys were so stoked. They were like our age. No, they were younger than us. We were late 20s. But you were playing, and you were in your bass player phase. And I always thought that was the coolest thing because you really could play the bass. You know, it's the easiest instrument to play,
I mean, you know.
hardest instrument to play right. You guys got up and with no rehearsal, of course, because you were getting ready to play, and the band started playing, and you stopped the band. And you said, hey, man, let me see the bass. And you took the bass off of the bass player and laid it down. And you and Stuart Copeland just gave everyone an absolute ball-crushing lesson on groove and feel. And that bass player like sulked away into the night. It was awesome.
You did. I remember.
It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in
I probably
my
was
life.
drunk too. I remember Stuart Copeland. I remember that night. I remember playing, but I don't remember. What did we play?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
We played... Okay, there was a movie coming out called Dill Scallion, which is a really weird little like Spinal Tap of
I
country.
have a song in it.
We had a song
Yes.
in that. Right. You had a
Yes.
great song in that. What was it called?
Stay. I think it was called Stay.
It was like you and a slide guitar, really, really empty.
Stay.
Wasn't it?
It was either called Stay or Still. Still.
Still. Yes, it was called Still.
It was called Still.
It was awesome.
And the guy that produced it was my second fiance.
Oh, you're kidding.
My
And
second
Keith
one. Not my
Gaddis,
first one.
who we
My
just
third
talked
one.
about, had a great song on there called
Yes.
Going Back to Austin. It was a little soundtrack. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, the soundtrack from that movie was
good.
Was good.
I can't remember. We
Yeah.
had a song on. I can't remember what it was. It probably wasn't very good. I didn't love it.
Funny.
But
And the
we
girl
played
that
with
went on to be in that.
David Kochner, he and Billy Burke, and we did Folsom Prison Blues, and they sang it. And then we played a couple of our songs.
Okay.
And then you and Stuart Copeland came and played with his band. And you took the bass from that guy. It was the coolest thing. Because you just went, hold on. You stopped him about the third bar. Like, hold on. Give me the bass. And you put it on. Just,
I
it was
just
so
say
funny.
I could be a dick.
No,
Every
it
once in a
was
while.
one person didn't love that. And everyone else did. So you like affected my life in a really
My
positive
God.
way.
I don't know if you remember you and Brett and Tim McGraw and Harry Connick Jr.
In New York.
Yes,
We came
in
to
New
see you.
York. What club was that?
I think it was a big place, wasn't it?
I
Wasn't it not
don't
an arena?
remember, but I remember Harry playing the Hammond, and he was like way over, like almost in the wings. And yeah, that was fun.
I feel so bad about that night because I remember that night. It might be the second time we ever ran into you.
Okay.
But it was
I only have good memories from that, so I don't know.
it was but we had been to dinner with so Tim and Faith. She was shooting the movie The Stepford Wives, and Harry Connick Jr. and his
Okay.
wife Jill Goodacre.
Yeah.
And then Glenn Close came to dinner, and Brett and I were sitting there. So
Was
we were.
Glenn there that night?
She
too?
was. She didn't come to your show. She
Okay.
just went to dinner.
Yeah.
Like she was just past her bedtime by then.
Yeah.
But it was this obviously very famous table, and Brett and I are sitting there, and I said, people keep looking over at this table, wondering who's with the Warren brothers, and it's getting a little embarrassing, you know. So we made a bit. Anyway, Harry Connick Jr. was so funny. His first night, the only time
Yeah,
I've ever
he's-
met him. So funny. We had such a good time. But Brett and Tim and I, all three, got so drunk.
I don't actually remember that much about it either. I mean, I had my years too.
Yeah, how did
I
that go? Did you ever get into the weeds?
Well, I would say that, and I've talked to
Not
my
the
kid.
weed, but the weeds.
Yeah, I don't have that addictive gene. I just don't.
Yeah.
Like I could go on a, drink a lot, and then not drink again for ages. Same
Yeah.
with smoking. Like I could smoke a pack of cigarettes and then not smoke again. Party
Yeah.
smoker or whatever. I didn't have that, but now I've talked to both my boys because
I was going to ask you, what if your boys want to smoke weed? I mean, not
no,
now,
they're
obviously.
they're
But what,
young, but I've been really open with them. I mean, when I think about the way I was raised, God love my parents, but they never talked about anything. I mean, no parents did. You know what I mean?
mine did constantly. And that's
Really?
voila.
Well, my
This is
parents
what you
drank
get.
and smoked a ton, and they were
did they?
musicians. Oh yeah, and they just never. It was you will fly right.
That's proof that you're born with a lot of this addictive gene. I mean, I have choices to make. I can go
Yeah.
to meetings and I can be sober, but you're born with the addictive gene.
I think
just
so
had it.
too. And my kids are adopted, so I don't. I talked to them about it. Frankly, look, you will get to an age where kids are going to start drinking. They're going to start smoking. And I tell my boys, look, if you do, you call me and there will be no questions asked. I will come get you. I'll come get your kid, all that. Because I lost two of my best friends in high school.
Wow.
Prom. driving home. Fell asleep, went head on into a 18-wheeler driving back. Because, we lived small town. You drove out in the country, got your date. And
back then, the drinking and driving was frowned upon, but it wasn't. I didn't even know it was illegal so much. I mean,
we didn't have seatbelts, so I'm really aging myself here.
No,
people didn't get in their car and put their seatbelt on.
Yeah.
So
when I first started, and
I don't know. I just think I've told my boys, look, I made my first record. I drove through the canyon and didn't remember how I got home, and it's not funny. It's not fun, but it is. And that's when you get down on your knees and you go, Lord, I know you want me alive. Mm-hmm. I don't know why you want me alive, but it's payback, Yeah. So,
and you've been around this long enough, and I know that you've worked with addicts because you can't have been in a good band without working with an addict or two.
I've not only worked with addicts, I've dated them. Yeah, sure.
And you'll probably know if one of your kids has the gene. And it's not like there's not a gray area, because there is.
Yeah.
When Sage was 10, I told Michelle, I said, he's an alcoholic. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's 10. I go, he has every other character quality. And by the way, some of them good. I love alcoholics. They are good, solid, mean what they say. Get into it, people. They're intense. Big feelers. We'll go there. We'll go deep with you. Recovering alcoholics were the guys that would delve with me into grief at the drop of a hat for no reason at all, just because. And my other friends who are normal, and just, by the way, I'm so blessed that we had so many great people, but it was just more difficult for them to do. An alcoholic can just jump right into the hole. I love it.
They know the hole and they're not afraid of it.
My favorite group of people, if I can be there. But you can recognize it early, and it's
and you can't. I definitely think you can see it early on. I'm not going to say about my kids. They come from a different set of genes than me, and you can't preach it out of a kid. You can't preach it out of a person. You can only just give the best kinds of tools you can. And my kids know that there's nothing they can do that would prevent me from loving them.
Yep.
Yep. And outside of that, you just are braced and you pray and you are there, I don't know what else. You meet it, I guess.
Yeah.
Where it is.
The truth is that Sage's death has made Michelle and I better at everything, except for missing him is painful, but I'm better at everything. Just living life, being in the moment, being a better husband, father, friend, brother. I would say it has had only positive effects on us because of where we were in life, what we were choosing to do. But you can't help but there's guilt. I have to. By the way, if you want to cut this out, we can. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I was really moved in the documentary when you talked about the leaving Las Vegas guy. This is a guy that wrote a book, and you titled the song after, and you didn't give him credit. And I will say this: you didn't give him credit on Jay Leno or was David Letterman, or something, and then the guy wound up killing himself.
Thank you for tuning in to the Good Grief, Good God show. Here is a preview of part 2 premiering on Tuesday, February 20th. Check the description for links.
I do not like who I was when I was involved with Lance, and everyone on this planet is lovable and deserves to be loved. And my problem with Lance was me. I did not like who I was. And when I came out of that and I had breast cancer, the two of those together made me revisit who I was.
As always, the Good Grief, Good God show is brought to you in loving memory of Sage Michael.